Greetings. I've just inhaled my latest source of Bloodborne and have installed Nightmare Cart. I still haven't reached the finals yet, and also, should I? I have a collection of demos from the Steam Next Fest, as well as some other titles that piqued my interest while doom scrolling on Steam. I found a particular jar of mayonnaise that had talked about the subject of this video called Metal Eden. I watched it and thought to myself, hey, this game looks pretty cool, I'll have to check it out at some point, where it usually means that I'll check it out in the next millennium or so. During the Steam Next Fest phase of promising titles and some deep dives into the realm of brain rot, I picked Metal Eden out of the litter for myself to extract whatever kind of experience it had to offer, and judging by the cover of this video, I've ingrained it into my head somehow that this game is a mix of Cyberpunk 2077 and Doom 2016 put into a blender. So why would I think this exactly? Well, you have a voice inside your head that talks to you.
They had won.
The sleek, colourful, and overwhelming structures of a cyberpunk setting, a mix of UAC-inspired art direction, kind of like what you would see in Doom 2016, and also it has a little bit of Titanfall 2 DNA if you want to make room for a third wheel in the conversation. So this will be a little bit shorter than usual because there isn't too much here to extract from the current demo given the content pool available. I did a few playthroughs of the game on normal and on the hardest difficulty, brutal, and just did one for the love of the shotgun. And I had a blast with it overall. The movement and the gunplay when it flows seamlessly, when it works like it's supposed to, is pretty fun. That again reminded me of Doom 2016 in some ways while adding in its own gameplay elements and mechanics. The art style, when it's not so blurry like I'm going into hyperspace, has a measure of feeling somewhat grounded and also high-tech at the same time. I'm a sucker for hard sci-fi or cyberpunk FPS games, and I sincerely hope I get fed more of them. Unfortunately, it does have some issues when it comes to input buffering and registration, graphical optimization and blurriness within the game's presentation, among a few other things. But nevertheless, I think the demo was pretty good, and let's dive into the shallow pit and see what is so metal about this Eden, shall we? So we're in the future. We've made human consciousness digital in devices called cores, where in the game, we'll be ripping and coring until the demo is done. With advancements, they colonize new worlds while going beyond their biological limitations. Nevertheless, the story is still developing and so is everything else, and what we're left with so far is somewhat intriguing. It just hasn't fully hooked me in yet, and at the moment it's showing some promise, and there seems to be a balance of dialogue fusing with the movement and the combat, where we're not stopping for a moment of dialogue like you would see in a COD campaign, but the moments where we do in fact stop are in the cutscenes that absolutely look like the game that we're playing right now. We play as Hunter Unit Asuka, who never asked for this.
I never asked for this.
To go on a suicide mission like it's Mass Effect 2 and rescue other people's cores so they don't get cored in a city with giant monkey's paws, where enemies will make you melee punch them for health and hopefully some ammo, and play for a point system that I ignored multiple times each playthrough while shooting enemies in high poly blood and gore. Plus we get a cutscene where our character gets the Ghost in the Shell treatment where she gets rebuilt and is back out to rip and core again until, well, just rip and core I guess. You fight a mix of mechs and synthetic humanoid figures across the mega structures of the game's set piece, where we Neon Genesis across each arena Evangelion-ly, with grappling, core ripping, and anime dashing in the Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine is a double-edged sword sometimes. It can make for some drop-dead gorgeous looking games, artistically interesting titles like Deadlink, and then titles that make you question if you've even spent enough money on your PC in the first place. Either that or just some Unreal slop that I look forward to eventually showing you. Metal Eden so far has a solid foundation that does need a lot of work, and for the love of Talos, why is this game so blurry? Metal Eden? More like Optometrist 2077. Anyways, the point system relates to the resource known as dust, which is a currency you collect through kills. Dust is what you'll be using to upgrade your weapons, and how you obtain those points is through how you approach the combat. The amount of points earned through the combat can also be affected by what kind of weapons you're using, whether you use the core ripping before shooting, comboing with a cluster with a core throw, or perhaps with an upgraded weapon for more points. And so while the game presumably makes you play for challenge, it seems to also make you play for points. Now, when I thought of the game's point system, I couldn't help but think of another possible thing that this game could have some of, and that is the possible inclusion of theory crafting. Now, what is theory crafting exactly? Well, in my not so thorough examination of the topic, it is the study and examination of game mechanics and math in games. Theory crafters explore what is optimal through a mathematical and scientific lens, where they test out all sorts of theories and see if it works. People in Genshin Impact, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, and a few gacha games and other MMOs, there are quite a few theory crafters that constantly analyze and find what is the most optimal solution to a problem. For example, this app called Raidbots allows players to fine-tune and optimize characters, and they can test their builds in a simulation of sorts. WoW players here can use apps like this to simulate a raid or a dungeon with whatever gear or builds that they have going for them, just to see what is the most optimal way of approaching the content. It goes much deeper than this, of course, but it's pretty interesting to see how other people find fun in a game, even though you have that quote where they say, what is it? People will optimize the fun out of a game. But in this case, it seems that the theory crafting community finds that optimizing is the fun and not the other way around. And what does this have to do with Metal Eden exactly? Well, you're not just looking for damage output anymore, but also the total number of points collected through the actions that you make. So then you start thinking, how many enemies can I kill in a row? Or what weapon will give me the most points? How many points can I get in a cluster? Things like this will also become more important on harder difficulties because it may also determine how many weapons you can get access to. And if you don't have enough dust, then you'll have to either go back and find canisters that you missed or, reload. Mechanically, it's kind of like a mix between Doom 2016 and Titanfall 2, wrapped with the inspiration of Cyberpunk's corp maxing, evidenced by the giant structures and over-industrialized landscapes. The weapons here are also pretty fun to use, and the upgrades give you further additional options that unfortunately you won't have enough time to fully enjoy and experiment with, given how short the demo is. By the time I reached the end of the second level, I had just earned enough dust for both upgrades for the shotgun and had gotten 30 kills, which you need prior to obtaining the upgrades. You also have upgrades for your core where they enhance your existing abilities and mechanics, as well as giving you new abilities and additional mechanics. With this upgrade, we can finally be the magical girl that we were always destined to be in this game. And I'm sure that in the final product, there'll be more opportunities like this that open up the gameplay loop even further. So overall, the game feels pretty good in terms of the gunplay. The movement is fluid and vertical while being supported by upgrades that give more dynamics to the combat loop. Enemies require different strategies in the arena. Ranged enemies will aimbot you to death on brutal difficulty, where a short and memorable experience of dying will occur, and you'll be wondering if Kovacs was included within the AI. You eat the cores while saving the cores to give health back, but it doesn't help with the blurriness, nor does it help with the input buffering issues between charging, weapon switching, and reloading, nor does it help with the lack of clarification on how to effectively collect points. Nor does it also give me information to cooldowns, as well as the points that I've collected, in terms of the sound, that is. I can core and rip all day, but I also want the optimization issues gone. Suboptimal FPS ruins even the best games for me, and get rid of that blurry crap so I can appreciate the details even more, please. Put the game back in the oven for longer, because if it comes out like this, it won't be Cyberpunk 2016, Titanfall 3, or Doom 2077, it'll just be Mid-Eden. Nevertheless, it is a promising game that I still managed to have a good time with. I do like the gunplay, the movement. The game looks good if you can look past the blurriness somehow. The environments and the art direction, that's kind of like Doom 2016, at least that's how I feel about it. It has some interesting mechanics going for it as well, and once they iron out the point system, I'm sure it'll incentivize further playthroughs for high scorers and speedrunners. It's bound to come out sometime this year, and if it turns out well, I'll revisit this game again and do a cyber dive and see what's come out of the oven then, but for now, I'm done. Stay safe everyone, and thank you for watching.
Aha. You must be the new participant. I am